If you were to write a book, which I wish you do someday, what would it be about?
For me, I love a good self-help book. It's always about, for me, it's about inspiration. We can all write a business book, right? But sometimes we have to mesh the business with the things that come behind it. Like we're talking about now. How do you unplug, right? How do you recharge? How do you stay an effective leader? Because when you're the head of something, you really are a visionary. You have to hold the vision and believe more than anyone else on your team that this can get done. That takes a lot of energy. And not only are you holding that, but you also have to pour into your team, make sure that, they're doing the things that they need to be doing. You having all of these meetings, you have all of these different personalities. Then I'm dealing with retailers. I'm doing this, you're doing all the things. And so again, it goes back to what we said, like what Delaney said, how do you break before you break and still run a really great brand? And that's what I would like my book to be about, because it always goes back to us as human nature. When we're at our best, we give our best.
For nearly 40 years, PIMS has worked behind the scenes of beauty and CPG. Along the way, we've gotten to know the people who make the industry run. The founders, the operators, the ones with the real playbook. This is the PIMS Influence, where they tell you how they actually do it. No fluff. Let's get into it.
Welcome everybody to the PIMS Influence. Today, our very special guest, Miss Octavia Morgan. Octavia, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here with you, Mike and Alfonsina.
Yes, and let me point out my co-host for today, Miss Alfonsina Messina, my co-worker and extraordinaire.
So happy to be here.
Octavia is the CEO and creative director for OCTAVIA MORGAN Los Angeles, and we have long awaited for her to be on our program, and we're very excited to kind of jump into the weeds. But what's funny is we always do this kind of sort of call when Alfonsina and I were talking last night about how this came to be, and because I was like, how did you guys meet? How did this relationship start, and how did you guys meet each other?
So, as you know, we are CEW members, and there was a CEW event for the Fragrance Indie Awards. And I, attended the award with my colleagues, and we went, and I think we were sponsoring that award that night. And I just happened to meet Octavia's husband, Delaney. He was there first. We started talking, and she came over and we started talking, and she was one of the fragrance award recipients. And I don't know, just instantly, we just connected, and we just
did.
spoke all night long. It was just such a great interaction, and it was so amazing to see her get up on stage and accept the award. And from that point on, we just remained in touch, right?
Yes,
And we just
exactly.
continued to be close. We built this great bond. And I mean, you'll hear Mike when she starts speaking, you ask her questions. It's like every time I walk away from my time with Octavia, I just walk away a much more grounded person.
I was just going to say, Octavia, you would probably not be surprised, but Alfonsina gushes every time she comes back from any kind of a meeting.
No.
Of course. She loves them. Yeah. So I was going to say, if you haven't met Octavia in person, she definitely has one of those personalities that when she comes in a room, like all heads turn, right? Like she's just like one of those types of people. So again, we're very excited to jump into this question. So let me start at the beginning. So everybody has kind of a story to tell about why they got into it, how it started. Sometimes it's a mentor, sometimes it's a family member, sometimes it's, their education kind of pointed them. Sometimes it's by accident. How did it all start with you?
So it was something that was built out of necessity. So almost 13 years ago now, I started to develop fragrance sensitivity. Didn't understand what was going on with me. And it was very disheartening because I'm a fragrance girl. I got my first fragrance at 5 years old. All the women and men in my family, they wear colognes and fragrances. So it's like this big thing, right? So years ago, when I would spray some of my favorite fragrances, I would get headaches. I would get nauseated. Sometimes I would get red little whelps on me. And so I love research. So when something is going on, I go into deep research. And through the research, I found that some of the things that they were putting in the fragrances, I was actually having a mild allergic reaction to it, right? And I was like, okay, let me go find like a cleaner, natural alternative, right? So I went to the marketplace, and back then the marketplace doesn't look like it looks now. Now you have so many options. Back then it was very different, right? It was like an afterthought. They were essential oils, or they were flat. They were like, it was just like, it was nothing like, if you're a perfume girly, it was nothing like I would want to wear on a daily basis. Right. My background was, I have a science background. So I was a registered nurse, took all these chemistry classes. So really understood that from that perspective. But my grandmother was a herbalist. So I grew up in under my grandmother's skirts, just really just always with my grandmother. So I had a working knowledge on how to work with plants and botanical extracts. And so I took classes, got a mentor, and really studied and created the first fragrances for myself, never intending to put them into the marketplace. Because at the time, like most women that are out there, I have a career. I had a career that I had been in for several years. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a sister, I'm a friend, I'm all the things. And I never thought about adding this to my plate. And then sometimes, back then I used to think to myself, like, who are you? Like, you're not trained. You haven't gone to school for 4 years to be like a perfumer and all of the things. I call myself an intuitive perfumer. I just was led by my intuition to create this. So created the first four in my line, very intentional, which was legendary because I was a hospice and palliative care nurse. I wanted to wear fragrance to go out when I would see my patients. But when you're dealing with a very vulnerable population, fragrances can be triggering, right? It could be too much for your patients, but I still want to express myself. So Legendary was very neutral scent, right? Spicy, woodsy, like it wouldn't cause any kind of disruptions. Then the next one was Summer Flora. Now, Summer Flora was, I love gardens. So nature is my happy, even though I'm a girl that likes glam and all the things, my happy place is always in nature. So I love gardens, and I was sitting in a garden one day and I just closed my eyes and I could smell the fruits, the wood trees, and the floral all together. And I was like, how interesting would that be to create a fragrance like that? And then we came up with Dark Rose, and then Dark Rose was one we created. And I created Dark Rose because I feel like in society, everyone is always apologizing for something, right? You wear your hair like this. Oh, why did you wear your hair like that? Why do you have on these clothes? Why do you have, it's always the why question. And I wanted something that was unapologetically sexy, that was bold, in your face. It did not apologize. And that's why we created Dark Rose. And my last fragrance that I created was Oud Noir. So I have a really good friend. He's almost like a brother to me. He's Middle Eastern. He always would wear some kind of oud scent, and I loved it on him. But oud, it can be very powerful, bold. And I was like, how do I create something that women are also able to wear as well? So we created Oud Noir. So after creating these, I was just giving them away. So people would come up to me and they'll be like, oh, you smell amazing. And I'll be like, oh, okay, you can have it. Have it. I'm not going to do anything with it. And my partner, he was like, you can't keep giving it away. Let's build a website and let's see from there. And I was like, okay, so build a website, have friends, family buy in from me, right? So my routine is every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, I get up, I meditate, and I pray. That's my routine. It helps me to stay centered, grounded, all the things. And in one of my meditations, my question was, what do I do with this? What am I doing with this? And all I heard was, you're going to take it to the streets. And so I was like, take it to the streets? Like, what is this? And I heard, take it to the streets. And that was a pivotal change in building Octavia Morgan, because in me doing that, taking it to the streets, I didn't know what that meant. And I was talking to my brother at the times, and he was in wines and spirits. And he was like, Octavia, I don't know what it means, but I have a booth for you. So if you want to come to this big festival that they have in Orange County, I have something for you. Just come. So I was like, okay, fine. And I brought my family with me. We were at a resort. So I said, if nothing else, we're going to have a great time. So we sold out. But that still wasn't the catalyst, because for me, it always has to be a bigger why. What is my why? Right. And a woman came, and at the time I had 4 scents and I had a home spray. She was able to smell everything, and she started to sob. And I said, okay, what happened? What's up? And she was like, I haven't been able to wear fragrances in 12 years. And that was my why, because it was other people out there like us that wanted something that was beautiful, complex, but also had that clean component to it. And that really changed the trajectory of our brand and really led me down that road of, okay, this is viable and we're going to put this out.
It's so amazing the journey. It starts with those little small things along the way, and you're right. Like, I'm sure people were second guessing, like, why are you doing this instead of that? Why are you going in this direction? Why are you going in that direction? Among all these hats that you wear, along with founder and wife and mother and all the other stuff you're doing simultaneously, you're also an entrepreneur, right? Like, you're getting into the world of supply chain and marketing and finance and all this stuff too. So having a nursing background doesn't really prepare you to sort of get in with that and roll up your sleeves. It sounds to me like a lot of this is self-taught. How did that go? How the people that watch this episode are going to want to know, like, how many no's did you hear before it was a yes? How many times did you fall before you got up and started to run a little bit? How did that sort of business end of things come together?
You know what? That's a great question. So for me, I don't get offended when I hear no. It actually charges me up, because you know what I think? When I hear no, that's great. I need to get to my yes. And so for me, I didn't know what I didn't know. If I knew what I knew now, back then, I probably would have not went for it. Back then, I was just going for it just out of gusto and pure determination. So again, going back then, I had no connections to anybody in the beauty space. I knew no founders. I knew no one. And I had a friend of mine, and he was like, I think you have something. Let me introduce you to this gentleman that's been in the fragrance industry for over 25 years. And let's see what he says. And I took a meeting with this gentleman, and he smelled my scents, and he looked at me, and he smelled my scents again. And he looked at me, and he was like, did you really do this? And I was like, I was like, yeah. Yeah, I did it. And he was like, okay. He was like, I think you have something. And he was one of the people that were instrumental in guiding me. So one thing about me is I seek out advice from people, right? So I met him, and then he connected me to someone else. So I go a little bit slowly, but as I'm going slowly, what I'm doing is I'm researching. I'm understanding what is going on. Like, as I meet people, I'll take notes. Then I go back and I look up these things, because I think that you have to educate yourself. We don't know, but you have to go back and do your part as far as like educating yourself, so that when you meet these people, you can ask these real pertinent questions. Because if you don't, it's kind of like, and when people understand how thoughtful you are, like, I'm not here to waste your time. And I always tell people, I'm not afraid to do the heavy lifting, right? I'm not afraid of it. If you give me a nugget, Mike, I'm going to take that nugget and I'm going to make a meal out of it. Because I'm going to research, I have to plan it, how to cultivate it. Like, I do all the things because I understand that this is something that I want to do. So a part of that responsibility is me finding out, getting a knowledge base behind it. So when I come back to these knowledgeable people, or I meet someone, I'm able to ask the right questions to lead me to the next thing that I need to do. I have been very fortunate in my journey that we haven't gotten a whole lot of no's. We've had some waits. You're not ready, but I haven't gotten a lot of no's. And I think that it's a testament to to the core group, myself and my partner, who we are, and them understanding that we're very serious about what it is that we do. And everything is about, we can't rely, although I have great people that I work with now. We couldn't at the time rely on anyone else. We had to get the knowledge for ourselves.
I'm just thinking back to the day that I met Octavia. It was a while ago. I think it had to be at least a year or more or
Yeah,
so
it
ago,
was.
right? And when we met, you were just starting to come out of the Spark program in Ulta.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that? And in just that time, you've been on TV shows, talk shows. I mean, there's been such amazing movement, and a lot of that must have come from all of your very thoughtful, purpose-driven relationship building that you've had and those people guiding you. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
So that journey was very interesting. So let's take it back. I was a small brand. My journey has been very unusual for a premium fragrance brand. I started this journey in high-end farmers markets and these pop-up markets that people were having at the time, right? Let's go back to the beginning. I knew no one in this space. I knew no one in the beauty space. I had no connections, no anything. I had a product that I didn't understand. I knew that I had something, but I didn't understand it. I didn't understand how to sell it. I didn't understand who my demographics was. I didn't understand that. So when we started going into those farmers markets first, I got started to understand how to sell my product, what it is that I had, and my demographics. To lead with what fragrance when I talk to certain demographics, right? Go with this one, men like this, women like this. I learned that whole spiel. So that prepared me to go into the Spark program. When I went into the Spark program, it was very interesting. So they don't guarantee that you're going to get placement in store. That's not their guarantee. What they guarantee is I'm going to get you a retail readiness course, and we're going to give you a small cash infusion for your business. So for me, that's what I was interested in. My background was in beauty, so I needed that retail readiness course, right? I wanted that information, and then I said it won't hurt to have this cash infusion to go into our company, right? So when they picked me, I was in awe, but I was a little scared because I was like, "Hey, what do you know?"
Yeah.
Like, you don't know.
Yeah.
Like, girl, you're new to this. I was like, you're like a baby to this. Like, what's going on? So when I got into the program, we got into the program. It was a total of 8 other brands. Were further along than others. And it was just a really beautiful melding of all of these amazing female founders, which I'm still very good friends with, to a lot of the founders in the program to this day. We give each other advice. I like to say we speak life into each other, right? Because sometimes as an entrepreneur, this is a lonely road. Not everyone understands. You have your friends, your family. No one really understands what it takes to create something and then bring it to market and continue to push forward to get it into these specialty and big box retailers, unless you're on that journey. So we're still friends today. Got into the Spark program, and it was like I was a deer in the headlights, guys. I was like, it was just
It's
it
hard
was
to
like the
believe. I hear what you're saying, but I'm just knowing you is hard to believe.
No, I was, because it was so much information that we had to digest. It was like they gave us a MBA course, I think in like 10 weeks. So imagine you go from 0 to 1,000.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just like, oh my God, it was just so much information. But the connections that they brought us, the speakers that they connected us with, and all the other founders, it was priceless. And from me being in that program, it really connected me with a lot of Ulta like executives that I am still friendly with today. A lot of people that I still have connections with that they connected us with when we were in the Spark program. And it allowed me to have an opportunity for an emerging brand to launch into Ulta Beauty with their support. So it was really a great partnership that I've had with Ulta.
Yeah. And now you're rolling into all doors, and since then you've been on The View and other
Yes.
TV
Yes. And
show, right?
I have a wonderful PR team that believes in me. She believed in me from the beginning. But okay, so let me go back. This is about relationships. So I met one person, they introduced me to another person, they introduced me to another person. So actually a really dynamic executive introduced me to my PR company, because I was talking to her and I was like, hey, do you have any referrals for any PR? And she was like, as a matter of fact, I do. Let me introduce you to Melissa. Introduced me to Melissa. She heard my story and she was like, you know what, Octavia, I really love what it is that you're doing. And she was like, I believe in it. Let's go. And so Melissa and her staff actually researched and brought back that as I launched into Ulta Beauty, I would be the first the first Black and woman launching into premium fragrance in Ulta's history. So not only did we launch, but we also made history as well.
That's amazing. So proud of you.
So
Thank you.
great. I have such a timely question for you. So Last night, as luck would have it, right? I come home and my wife and one of my sons and his girlfriend and my daughter are in the kitchen and they have a fragrance in their hand and they're spraying it to each other. And they're like, do you think this is men or women? Because the bottle has a little pink, but there's also some dark purple. And I know you always say that fragrance shouldn't have a gender. And like, I'm going to ask her this question. Why do you think the industry is so slow to sort of adapt to that? Like, I'm a consumer. I'm 60 years old. That's what I did. I would walk in Macy's and they would have a thing of guy fragrances over here and a thing of women fragrances over here. And those were your two options. Why do you think that's changing?
Well, so as I was doing my research, it's very interesting. It is all marketing. So prior to the 19th century, with the rise of the middle class became where they said woods and aquatics and all of that were for men. And then florals and all of these other softer scents are for women. So that all has to do with marketing. Prior to that, people kind of wore what they gravitated to. And I feel like now we're going back to what was before. And we're getting away from those gender norms because it's very interesting. Is a floral and a man that's grounded in a wood is the sexiest thing on them. And a woman that has a wood on her is very sexy with her body chemistry, right? And I think that for me, what I preach is Octavia Morgan is a safe space to explore fragrances. I don't believe that it's a space where you should kind of like second guess yourself. I feel like when you should wear a fragrance, when you spray a fragrance, you know what it should do? It should light you up because it's an accessory. Are you lit up by it? And when I used to do the markets and people have scents that they inherently gravitate towards, but when I would spray a different scent for them, I would watch their face light up. And I would say, that's not yours. That is just what you think is your scent. This is your scent. This is bringing joy out of you. This is bringing something. Look, this is a conveying emotions. This is what you should look for. And I think that we don't shop for fragrance from that aspect.
The amount of knowledge that you have with these fragrances, like it just blows me away. Like as you're talking, like in her past life, she must have been somebody who did something with fragrance, and it was so powerful. It just kind of came through. I had another question about these fragrances. So I know that you personally test your products up to 60 days before it launches. The amount of time committed to ingredients and creation and, the bottle and everything else that goes around that. Have you ever gotten almost to market with a scent that at the last minute you're like, you know what, it's just not working for me anymore, or we have to go back and change this, or we have to alter that? Has that ever happened?
Of course, to the detriment of my team. Like, Mike, I do that because everything that I put out, I stand behind, right? And I have to stand behind it because each bottle is a story behind that. Each scent has a story. It's very specific, right? The story that is behind it. I test it out because not only am I wearing it, my family is wearing it, my friends are wearing it, my consumers are wearing it. I want you to know that I test out everything for 60 days because that gives it a chance to settle in, things change, things happen, right? So it gives us a chance to play with it. And if we have to adjust things, we can. I had one scent that I absolutely loved, and that scent was called Marine Layer. So when we first did the first testing, it was fantastic. It's a beautiful, the citrus aquatic is dedicated to the marine layer in Los Angeles. So it has a brightness to it. It has all of these things, right? But when we did a bigger batch, I hated it. It was something that was green underneath it. And I wore it and I was like, I literally cannot stand this scent. And it was to go to market. And I think we were putting it to go to market in like 3 months. And I was like, I hate this scent. I don't like it. I don't know what's going on with it. I want to scrap it. And I have a gentleman that I work closely with, and he was like, I don't know what it is, but he was like, you know what? You're going to have to let it sit. You're going to have to let it macerate. And I was like, oh my God, how long? And he was like, maybe 4 months, maybe 6. We let it sit for 6 months. And that 6-month mark was the sweet spot. Whatever that note was, it dissipated, and then we get what we have now, this really beautiful scent. So some scents, and that's what we're afforded by being like a indie brand. Could a big fragrance house do that? Absolutely not. They would. It's so many moving parts with that, right? But because we're a smaller company, we're able to be more thoughtful about the things that we put out.
Get ready for this one because this is a big compliment. Somebody on the podcast not too long ago, a senior executive at a beauty company. And one of the questions I asked at the end, I was like, what do you see as a trend? Like what's coming up? What's happening? Who do I not know about? Like who can I talk about? And she said, have you ever heard of OCTAVIA Morgan?
Oh,
And I was like, actually, she's going to be on the show. And she's like, oh, her stuff is dynamite. So you are out there, you are happening. And it kind of leads into my question, right? Being the first Black woman owned prestige fragrance brand carried by Ulta, it's history making, right? It puts you sort of in the stratosphere of the up and comers. There's probably a temptation to either make your company triple and quadruple its size overnight, right? People are like tempting you, or they're like, have you ever considered, a makeup brand or a clothing line or shoes or whatever it is that they can sort of latch their wagon onto your star, right? Like as those temptations coming, do you have to sort of sometimes talk yourself out of it and be like, slow as we go, let's just make sure we get this right? Or do you have a bigger vision coming up?
I have a bigger vision. So for me, I hold on to the vision that we had, that we started with, right? And that helps me. That's like my North Star. So when we do have these conversations and people are like, you should do this, you should do that. And some of it resonates with me. So if it resonates with me, I keep it with me. If it doesn't, then I kind of let it fall away, right? Everyone has an opinion. And I would say 98% of the people, they mean well, right? They're telling you these things to, because they mean well and they see what's going on. But for me, it starts with, again, my why. My why is I put it out there for people that have fragrance sensitivity, right? I believe at the heart of our company is, I know it's strange to say this, but the heart of my company is a health and wellness company, right? We're all about putting out beautiful things that do no harm. So we do have a couple of different categories that we're dipping into, but again, they all just build on each other. Right now we have our fragrances. We also release the body oil, which helps with the longevity of your fragrance. And again, something to nourish, hydrate. And we also have a home collection that we have, and those are about functional scents, uplifting, your moods and kind of transforming your home into like a luxury space. So those all build on each other. I know that people want to come in and they want to do all the things, but if we do all the things, then it kind of stops the trajectory of where it is that we're going. I'm in it for the long haul. Of course, I'm in it we all want to make money. Money makes the world go round. But for me, my motto is, how do I leave the space better than what I found it? It's like that saying, if you build it, they will come. I'm building something that is meaningful and it's impactful, and I want to be proud of. Not only Octavia is my first name, but Morgan is my family's name. That's an homage to my grandmother. I take her with me everywhere that I go. And so she believed in quality ingredients. My grandmother back in the day was a vegetarian. We didn't eat meat when we would go. It was like a whole to-do. So she was always about, she was a herbalist. We took herbs. We didn't really delve too much into like Western medicine unless we had to. But her thing was like herbs, fruits, vegetables, clean water, all the things. So I take that philosophy with me when we're creating, when I'm thinking about this company. What would she say if I came to her and I had a conversation with her, right? What would she say? Would she say this and she would say that? And my grandmother was always about, you be proud of what it is that you're doing. You be proud about what it is that you're putting out. And that time will come when we will get the investor that is right. We will get the investment that is right for us. Investors is like a slow dance. We don't want to go too fast, but we want to find the right fit for us that understands what it is that we're really building. We're building legacy. We're building something that is meaningful and that's going to be impactful. That's what we're doing over here.
Right. Well said. Alfonsina, I'm going to let you jump in, but I do have one more question I wanted to ask before you do that, before I forget. So I know that you have said a couple of times, I think I have this quote, right? Distribution doesn't build a brand. What happens in store does. So I kind of wanted to get your feedback on retail versus social selling, right? I know all the rage right now is get to market as quickly as possible, go to TikTok shop, create your own sort of videos around it, and just e-com it right out the door. Others will say, it's super important to have your space in that retail space because people want to touch and taste and smell this world. Others say it's a mix of both. What do you say?
I think it's balance. I think in this world, it's about balance. Some brands are not going to ever go into the retail space and they're killing it and they're crushing it on their D2C, right? And I have no qualms about that. But other brands that want to touch people in a different way, then you want to go into retail. But the difference is that some people want to stay on the outskirts, and I call them outlanders. Like they want to stay on the outskirts, and I admire them, right? Like they're like, yeah, they're making millions and millions of dollars. But if you think about it, a lot of those companies that have broke on the internet eventually trickle in to these retail spaces, right? A lot of these companies trickle in because we find out it's a balance. You need a healthy D2C because you need that. And then you need also a representation so people can come in, especially for a fragrance company, and smell your fragrances at their leisure, experience your fragrance at their leisure. And I think that has really been beneficial for us as a brand. And also you're in different places that you wouldn't normally be in, right? I'm in Los Angeles. Okay. I have a huge base in Los Angeles, New York, all the coastal cities. But what about those that are more inland in America? How would they be able to get a hold of our fragrances if we were not in these specialty retailers?
So the other day we had lunch and we were talking a lot about just running, not stopping. You're so busy. You're scaling a brand. You're going on talk shows. You're going to in-person events. You had just come back from the Ulta FLC, and there was one thing that Delaney said that has always that just stood with me, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Break before you break.
Yes. Yes.
And I just loved that. How do you protect your energy? You are someone that people naturally gravitate towards. And so you love pouring yourself into others. So what do you do to not empty yourself and keep yourself focused and clear?
I have to take alone time. So what I do is I have to intentionally unwind. And that's when I go to my happy places. It's gardens, it's the beach. I love the beach. So sometimes I get up early in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning. I go down to the beach and I just have my towel out and I watch the surfers and I watch like the water and I do all of that because I always have to understand that it's something bigger than me. And I have to recharge, and I'm constantly like recharging because we do give so much, right? Not only am I giving to my business, you're right, I'm giving to my customers because I'm constantly pouring. But I learned a long time ago, you cannot pour from an empty cup. So I have to take time to refill myself and then get back out there. And my partner, Delaney, he's very good at reminding me to plug and you need that. Like sometimes we forget because especially when you're a driven person, right? When you're driven, then you're just like, I'm gone. I'm going to keep on working. I'm going to keep on doing what it is that I have to do until I get to my goal. And we all need that person. It can be a partner. It can be a friend, a sister, a dad, a kid, whatever it is. You need that person to tap you on the shoulder and say, you're doing fantastic, but I'm going to need you to take it down a notch and go pour into yourself. Like I would say 3 weeks ago, I was driving to go to the beach and it had been a really grueling, we've been on this tour, which has been fantastic, but it's a lot to go in and out of airports and, have these appearances. It takes a lot out of you. It's like, okay, I was like, okay, let's go to the beach. He was like, let's go to wine country. So we just kind of detoured and we went up to wine country and we had the best day. We didn't do too much. We just went to this beautiful vineyard and on the way up there where we live, it's the coast. So it's nothing but beautiful water on the scenic drive. We went to the vineyard. So it's nature all around us. And it was just a really great day. And it reminded me like we have to take that time. Sometimes when we're working, we think that we need a week vacation, 2 weeks vacation, a month vacation. But sometimes we need just one day
Yeah.
to recharge and then get back out there because that's all we have. But I think that we have to be very intentional about doing those things, and we have to build them into our schedules, because I don't know if you're like me, but I live by a schedule. Like, if it's not on my schedule, I don't know. I don't like, honestly, I don't know. So I schedule things like, okay, no, this is my day. I'm going to go and get a massage, and I don't care. I'm blocking out that time. I'm going to do the girly things. I'm going to go get my hair done. I'm going to go get my nails done. Like, I'm building out these things in my schedule because these things make me happy. And I think that we have to add that and not take the time and always say, like, look for the big vacation. I mean, they're going to come, but in between that big vacation, honey, you have not poured into yourself in 3 months. You look haggard, you're tired, you're exhausted. Like, how can you give your best? How can you be creative? Because that's another thing. Creativity takes energy. So how
Right.
can you be creative? How can you and be at your best if you're drained like that?
And you have to be present, right? You need to be present when you are working and scaling and growing your
Yes.
brand. And you have to be able to have clarity, and you need to be able to think. And I think it's important for inspiring founders, or, those that are listening to this podcast, to say to themselves, how did she build this success? And how did she not burn herself out? And how does she continue to have clarity every day? That it's important. And I walked away from that conversation that we had the other day thinking, I need to make sure I stop, I pause, I think, I have clarity, and I
Yes.
continue to also think about myself. So it makes me even stronger, better, wiser, and more productive and more efficient. And I think sometimes, us busy, crazy busy people forget that. So I think it's
Yes.
it's great that you stop, pivot, and pour into yourself too.
I do. Sometimes it's as simple as a deep breath. I shut the computer. I'm like, I've been on back to back calls. Like, we all had those days when we're on calls from the morning to the afternoon. And it's just like, it's so much information we're taking in. And I have to mentally tell myself, shut the computer, get up, just go stand outside and breathe.
So Mike said something really interesting before I asked your question about writing a book. If you were to write a book, which I wish you do someday, because I couldn't wait to read it, what would it be about?
For me, I love a good self-help book. It's always about, for me, it's about inspiration. I mean, we can all write a business book, right? But sometimes we have to mesh the business with the things that come behind it. Like we're talking about now. How do you unplug, right? How do you recharge? How do you stay an effective leader? Because when you're the head of something, you really are a visionary. You have to hold the vision and believe more than anyone else on your team that this can get done. That takes a lot of energy. And not only are you holding that, but you also have to pour into your team, make sure that, they're doing the things that they need to be doing. You having all of these meetings, you have all of these different personalities. Then I'm dealing with retailers. I'm doing this, you're doing all the things. And so again, it goes back to what we said, like what Delaney said, how do you break before you break and still run a really great brand? And that's what I would like my book to be. That's what really I would like my book to be about, because it always goes back to us as human nature. When we're at our best, we give our best.
Well, I hope you ask us to write the forward for that book, because I can't wait for that to be printed.
Oh, I would love that. Oh my God. All right,
Every
Mike.
time I listen to her, it's just always so inspiring. I always walk away so much more grounded.
Octavia, Beauty Matter recently named you one of the next Big 50. Congratulations for that.
Thank you
That's
so
right.
much.
Congratulations.
I know you've won your share of awards. What means more to you, if you can put it in words? That type of recognition, or feedback from loyal consumers that are just saying, "What's next? Hurry up! We want this. Get me more of that." Which one do you hold closer to your heart?
So they're both wonderful, but for me, it's my consumers. I was at a pop-up event, and I had this woman come, and she brought her 3 children with her. And she told me that she had to bring her 3 children with her because they had to see a woman doing what it is that I'm doing with their eyes. and be in the presence of that. And so that meant more to me than I love the awards. I love the accolades. This is a thing that, it keeps us going in this industry, lets us know that we're going in the right direction. But that woman taking the time out to bring her 3 children to come and meet me so that they can get some inspiration meant more than anything to me.
That's great. That's unbelievable. We are coming up on time, but I did want to ask one last question as we close out here. So with all the great advice you've given today and all the thing and all the feedback and the journey, what's the one piece of advice? If somebody has a dream and they're watching this because they're a big fan of yours or your brand or both, and they're like, how do I, as quickly as possible, get from where my chair to where she is? What's the one piece of advice you would give to somebody?
Don't do it quick. Take your time.
There is no quick, right?
It's no quick. Take your time and research. Know it, ask so that you can ask the right questions. So when you get into these spaces, you ask intelligent, great questions, and you have some information. And it's all about motion, right? The more that you move into the direction that you're supposed to go in, you start to create motion. You start to have people that sit up and take notice and they will come to you. And they will come to you and they will make the connections with you. So you don't have to really seek that out. But for me, the best advice I can give is just do it. I always say fail or succeed. It doesn't matter. You're doing it. And it goes back to what I said. You're either learning or growing. So even if this particular company doesn't work out, you can take that and you can go to another company. A lot of entrepreneurs that you see that are having some form of success, this is not their first rodeo. They've done other businesses. They've done other things, right? And It's led them to where they are now. And I would say, do it. Don't think about it. Don't guess about it. Don't say maybe, because you never know. Just do it and move in that direction and learn as you grow. We never stop learning. Always learn. Always know that this is your responsibility. This is your job. Even with me going into Ulta Beauty, I understood one part of some brands would just stop and rest on their laurels and say, I'm in Ulta Beauty, I'll get their customers. When I went into Ulta Beauty, I went in understanding that it's my responsibility too. We're in a partnership. This is a collaboration. Not only do they bring their customers, but I have to get customers in there as well. So really understanding and getting a kind of like a play of what it is that you want and where you're going. And the next thing I would say is get with people that speak life into you, that are not saying like negative things or second guessing you. You have to get with people that are kind of like on that same trajectory. Because when you're on this road, it can be very lonely. It's hard to have a business. You have a lot of things that you're learning. And sometimes you need those other founders and CEOs and creators to come in and say, hey, I've been there. Have you did it this way? Have you done it that way? Or give you a little bit of advice that is practical, because we have the book advice. We have the things that people come in. Not everyone knows, but sometimes you need people to come in with practical advice. Like, I did this, or let me introduce you to that person. And I would do that because my grandmother used to say, no man is an island. They can't stand alone. I cannot stand alone. Yes, you see Octavia Morgan, but behind me is so many people that are propelling me and wishing me well and, doing and all the things. And I would say the same thing. If you're in a business, if you have a company and something that you want to start networking, getting in the rooms with people that you want to be in the rooms with, where you can get this advice. And you can start small. Listen, I had no connections, like none, 0 connections into this beauty space, right? And we started to build our connections. But when I first got here, you can't always say, well, this person is connected. This person that's excuses. It is no excuses. Either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. But for me, life is short. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. And you might as well go for it.
Right.
What a great story. Octavia Morgan, thank you so much, folks. Pay attention to this woman and this brand, because it's going to the stars. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. This was amazing. And you guys' questions were so good and so thoughtful.